What is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Grinders Live here on Rotogrinders.com, where we're going to be breaking down some basketball. We got a few days left in the NBA season. We got, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't even know, 8 games on the slate today. It's a fun one. We've already got some injury news. We're waiting on some injury news. Going to be some interesting stuff happening, which is good because I'm joined by two of the best in the business. We'll start off with Will, Chief Justice 06. How you doing over there, buddy?
I'm good, man. A lot of injury news kind of dropped earlier today. Some injury news dropped that I was hoping maybe would not have dropped, which was the Knicks news. Nonetheless, I will not be able to play Elfrid Payton today. He's somebody I definitely wanted to get in on, but we're just going to take him off the list now. I'm excited, man. NBA and look, I thought I was done with NBA DFS. Mentally, I said, I'm just tired of all the late breaking news. I'm tired of all the shenanigans. And lo and behold, I just keep entering lineups every day because I love it so much. So I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, no, NBA DFS at this point is just like that toxic relationship you're in where you just keep saying you're going to leave, then you just keep coming back. It never ends well. But yeah, I'm still with you. I'm still playing. I'm excited about maybe an NBA Top Shot tonight. Who knows with that free contest? But we'll bring in Drizzy26. How you doing there, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. Just hanging in there. I actually starting to like this time of year more and more now as I keep winning and winning. But just gonna hopefully give some guys a good plays and we'll keep it all up and keep the momentum going and let's stay hot and keep it going.
How is that any different than any other time of year? You just keep winning pretty much the entire time. So
all I do is win, no matter what.
My own mind, I can never get enough. Yeah, we got a fun little slate today, and there's a decent amount to break down. Keach will be hopping on here at some point in the near future to help us break down what injury situation could potentially have on projections, breaking all that stuff down. So he'll be there in 10-15 minutes. But yeah, guys, FYI, if you weren't already aware, if you haven't signed up for Play Big Brain, sign up for it. $50 matching bonus. No code necessary. We're going to have a crunch time tournament on Friday for free. So free crunch time on Friday, followed by a big brain tournament. And there will be all sorts of trivia topics. There's beer, there's Monopoly, there's 90s comedies, there's the Beatles. I'm sure I can get them to get one about my past, but I don't want to know my past. And I probably don't remember much of it. So that's probably not going to happen. But guys, get signed up. But we got a real interesting slate here. Obviously, we've got the Toronto news just right off the bat. We've got everyone out, so there's all sorts of different pieces that may be available in this. And then we got some big news waiting on Joel Embiid. If he is out, then that could potentially change a whole bunch of things. LeVert is questionable, and the Indy has just been rolling lately. Butler is questionable. Capel's questionable. So we got a lot of news to kind of sift through. How's this going to – I'm guessing you're doing cash, Will, and Dre will do tournaments more?
Okay.
I can't remember. I know you guys are both you both crush FanDuel, but yeah, I know Dre just destroys tournaments. But like from an overview, what's the most important bit of news that you're waiting on, Will, to kind of get your lineups into order?
I don't even think it's Joel Embiid. I think he's going to sit. I don't think Embiid's playing today. So for me, I think it's the Jimmy Butler news. I think that's the news that everything's hinging on for me. I got the news. I mean, I do think the Denver news is the most impactful. Like out of the blue, like this is insane to not have Michael Porter Jr. today. Like I don't think people understand what's about to happen in this game. But they're playing Minnesota, no MPJ. They're already down a bunch of guards. Like that's probably my favorite game on the slate, but I do need this Jimmy Butler news. Like I think it's very important.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. In Denver, yeah, MPJ not being there, obviously huge usage hole. Great matchup going up against Minnesota. Like it could open up. It just there's so many pieces that are in play there. Dre, what about you? What's the big news that you're waiting on?
Just the Joel Embiid news. Just want to monitor it to see what it opens up in Philly and like Chief said, Jimmy Butler. Those are like the two main pieces that I'm looking forward to getting to know and see what happens. We got a good amount of the news already, so I should be good from there. But just need to know because if I need to play some of these need to figure out if I got to get some Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, or these Miami Heat point guards and Tyler Hero into my lineup or not.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like a whole bunch of Heat point guard minutes will end up opening up in that rotation. We know exactly what it is whenever Butler's out of the lineup, plus Butler's usage. So yeah, right there with you. But I guess we should probably we got a lot of games. We got a lot of things that'll happen. The injury news in specific will go kind of break down a little bit more when Keach hops on. So we're just going to start breaking things down a little bit, position by position, get probably guard out of the way before Keach hops on here. Let's start off at point guard. Like obviously Flynn is, depending on the site, one of the better plays on the entire slate. DraftKings, he stands out as a pretty good play. FanDuel, he stands out as a pretty good play. Yahoo, he stands out as an absolute lock and load at just $15. Who are you looking at for guard, Will?
I mean, my favorite point guard today is Facundo Campazzo. Like, just period. Like, that's why I love this game so much. Like, you know, on FanDuel, he's 5,600 with no MPJ. I mean, I'm expecting his production to really kick into high gear here. And I'm not talking about just the scoring. I'm talking about all around in all these categories. So he's kind of a favorite of mine. Even on DK, like, I don't mind it because, you know, with the opportunity he's going to have in this type of a game, the possibilities are endless in my opinion. So, you know, and we've got him at 5,800. I think that's right in line. He's absolutely. I'm probably going to be close to a lock button on Campazzo today. Like, I'm considering, you know, going heavy MME on this slate, and I'm really thinking about hitting a lock button on Campazzo. Like, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's like for tournaments, that's not a bad move. It's something I hadn't really thought about entirely, but we got Flynn over on DraftKings pretty much at the same price tag, which I think everyone will be over on Flynn. And
he's double the ownership on FanDuel right now. 19.7.
Triple the ownership
and
over
11.
on DK.
It's insane. I don't get that at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, I get it. Flynn's like a guy that we've known. Like, there's absolutely everyone out, but people don't realize how much of a hole not having MPJ in there really is. So, yeah, I kind of like that a lot. Like, this, we've currently have him projected for 28 points, and that seems like it's a little bit too low. I'm sure they're always tinkering with stuff. Probably get a little bit of a boost later on as things get updated, but that is a smart move. What about you, Dre? You in on that?
Yeah, I like Campazzo a lot. But I like someone on the opposite of that game at point guard. I don't know why, just looking at his recent, as far as minutes wise, he's playing a good amount of minutes, and that's Ricky Rubio, 30, 25, and 32 minutes in the opposite of that game. It's going to be a fast-paced, up and down game, and there's not a lot of players that play defense out there. So I like Ricky Rubio to have a nice upside game. I think you can live in that mid-range at point guard today and be fine. I also like Chris Paul and John Moran. That's a little bit higher options, but I think I'm going to focus on that mid-range today because I think there's a lot of good plays over there.
Let me plug something in there, Dre. Let me pique your interest on Rubio. So and we looked at this last night on the pod. First of all, I'm not saying I'm right. It's just something I noticed. Since May, Ricky Rubio has been playing 30 minutes one game, and then he's like 20 the next, or like he's not getting as much run. If we're on the right track, this is his low minutes game. How much do you read into that? Like, it's something I was just tracking. I'm like, well, this seems real strange because it started to become a trend to me just in May, right? So that was something I thought about. Maybe it's a direct correlation. Initially, I thought maybe it's a direct correlation to D'Angelo Russell starting and playing minutes. But I'm like, D'Angelo Russell's been playing minutes since May now. So, like, what's your read on that? That's my reason for being a little bit afraid to pull the trigger on Rubio. But I'm just trying to get your thoughts, because obviously I like Campazzo, you like Rubio. This feels like the game of the night. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it just depends on the situation. Looking at this right now, he played 25 minutes the last game before Detroit. So, and he played 17, I guess, in the Memphis game. I don't know. I mean, it is a weird trend, but I'm gonna look into it. I'm gonna dig into that right now, actually, a little bit further to see. Maybe he was in foul trouble or something, or he just like the second unit the way he's playing. It could be that too. From what I'm looking at, he wasn't in foul trouble at all against the Orlando game. So I don't know, and I don't know. I gotta check I'm gonna check the Memphis game too as well to see. But I still trust it in tournaments. It's no one's gonna want to be on them. That just to me gives me another leverage play. I'm not afraid to take a chance. That's how I've made it this far, by taking chances on players. So someone like him is someone I'm willing to take a chance on, because I know he has at least a 35 to 40 point upside in this matchup. And he plays definitely on FanDuel with the steals and blocks being 3 points. I like him here for a couple steals in this matchup too.
For sure.
Yeah, and I looked into this a little bit, and yeah, Memphis was just a weird one, but he was playing terrible. Like, I think that might have just been a coach's decision. He was playing absolutely horrible, 0 for 3 shooting, really wasn't doing anything at all. Game against Orlando was a complete blowout, so he just didn't get fourth quarter run. Like, you look at his run prior to the fourth quarter, similar to both Miami and Detroit. So the last 3 games, it's been fairly consistent. It's just been a spot where if he's not shooting the ball well, if he's not playing well, they won't give him run. I think we saw the same thing going up against Houston. But yeah, like, I think Orlando was mostly just blowout. And if you take that fourth quarter out of contention, it's really just the Memphis game that's been an outlier. And rest obviously hasn't really been a thing that has affected things. His first game back after a 4-day absence was against Memphis, and he didn't get run there. So I don't really know if it is an actual correlation to playing the second end of whatever in 3 days. I think it might have just been a weird aberration going up against Memphis where he just wasn't playing well, and they kind of yanked him there because, yeah, wasn't in foul trouble, wasn't really doing much of anything, and so they just kind of took him out. But that's just kind of my gauge on it. So I think today he's probably in line for 30, 32 points if this game ends up staying close, which is projected at 2.5 point spread. It's pretty darn tight here. So I think that's mostly aberration. What about anyone else? Like, is Simmons, like, how much interest do you have in him if Embiid ends up sitting? Like, Lillard, Young, Ball, like all Morant, all the spend ups, are they just kind of out of your player pool?
No, they're in my player pool for sure, definitely. I like Ben Simmons today, but the only reason I'm going to be at the field on him or over the field is if Joel Embiid's out. Otherwise, I probably won't have that much exposure to Ben Simmons. John Morant, I love the way Sacramento, how fast they've been playing. It seems like they've been playing a little bit more faster with the line right there at the point guard. So I definitely like taking shots on John Morant. And then also I think Valanciunas is questionable, or he got ruled out. I'm not sure yet. Oh, he's questionable for tonight so far still. If he doesn't play, that just gives more opportunity, more uses to John Morant. And then that front court, it's not going to be that with Jaren Jackson, which I like when those two a lot as a pairing. So as far as those guys, that's really what I really love. As far as point guard, I also do like Chris Paul, but I think people are a little bit shy about playing him because he's 8'1" and they feel like he lives in that 40-point fantasy range typically. But I think he has upside here in this matchup. Both teams need to win for seeding purposes. So this game also is going to be competitive too, and I like targeting the point that point guard on that end for sure.
Yeah, no, seeding is definitely a big thing right now. I'm just pulling it up because things that people have to watch for, especially in the upcoming days. That play-in tournament is obviously massive. So the Pacers and the Hornets are both vying for the 8th spot, which you get 2 chances at making the playoffs there. The rest, like, the Celtics could potentially get knocked out of that. The Knicks are pretty much locked into that spot. So really over in the East, it's pretty much the Pacers and the Hornets that are really trying to do some work to try and fix that or get that extra playing game there. And then over in the West, obviously the Lakers, the Blazers, the Mavericks are all kind of vying for that non-playing game. And then the Warriors, the Grizzlies, Warriors and Grizzlies are vying for the 8th seed. And the Spurs and Kings are still somehow duking it out for that last play-in spot because the Spurs have just been terrible. And for some reason, the Kings keep winning things. But, yeah, no, kind of right there with you. Anyone else, Will, that you're seeing, like maybe Drew Holiday, like anyone at all that you have interest in at point guard that we haven't mentioned yet?
I think if and this is another one based on injury news, if LeVert sits, like, you're probably going to have to play TJ McConnell too. Like at 5,800, his ownership is going to go up, which might affect Campazzo a little bit more. I still really like Campazzo in this spot. I think he's in the best spot of the night, but TJ McConnell will be in play. And I'm with Dre. Like if JV sits, like Ja Morant, I'm gonna be crazy over the field on Ja. Like I was on Ja the other night with JV out just because I knew it just gives him immense upside. Ja played 30 minutes, put up 43 fantasy points. Like if JV's out and he gets full run, like you're gonna be looking at a really big performance. So he's a guy that I like. I think another guy, and this one is just more sneaky. You're gonna need him to just kind of have an upside game, and that's LaMelo Ball. Like we haven't really seen as much upside with him coming back from the injury, but he still got it, right? Like we haven't seen it, but it's still there. They need to win as well. And LaMelo Ball is just a sneaky play. At 5% ownership on FanDuel, I'd be willing to go to about 15% on him in my MME bill. You know, I don't have to do much to get over the field. And if he has a big game, like I'm squarely going to give myself a chance to take down a GPP.
You know, like that, by the way, over on PointsBet, they have a boost. LaMelo Ball 7+ assists at plus 140, I believe, which is pretty solid odds. I already hit that today, but if you're in a PointsBet state, go ahead, hop on that, get some free money there. And it sounds like we got Keach here. SBK, how you doing over there, my friend?
Doing all right. How you boys doing?
Oh, not too bad. I mean, still just trying to hammer my way through the last few days of NBA, and it is draining me. It is draining my life force, but almost there. Can see the finish line, but we got some injuries to watch out for. Do you want to just get started here with, I guess, Jimmy Butler is one of the most important ones on the slate?
Yeah, let's get started on that. We got two pretty impactful ones in that game. So on the Miami side, Butler the only one with an injury designation right now. Obviously, if he sits, going to shift that line. I think Miami's like -2.5 right now. Bam Adebayo would get somewhat of a bump, but Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, and Gordon Dragic would all be kind of more appealing. All of them are in the same general kind of price range. So all of them would get notable upticks. Hero coming off the best game of the three. And he'd probably be the guy that I would be the most excited to roster, I think, from that group. On the Philly side, we're not projecting Embiid in right now. The situation with him is like a little bit strange. He is apparently not with the team, or at least wasn't last night. So we chose to not include him initially, but obviously his status is going to have a pretty massive impact kind of one way or the other. So yeah, that's kind of that game. So yeah, two pretty big pieces kind of still to figure out there.
Yeah, no. If Embiid ends up playing, I think he's the only one really in play. If he's out, then obviously a big uptick to everyone. And Simmons' price is a little bit too low. Like everyone's price is a little bit too low if he ends up getting ruled out. What about over in the Memphis game? And we'll kind of mention that he likes Ja Morant a lot more if J-Val isn't in there because he'll get some extended run. Definitely gets a little bit of a usage increase there. Like if J-Val's out, like are we locking in Tillman? Is Clark potentially in play? Like Triple J end up getting a big increase? I know those minutes have been a little bit lacking since he got back from injury, but what are we looking at for Memphis tonight?
Yeah, the minutes for Jackson have definitely been down. He did get up to 27 in that last game, which I believe is his highest total of the year. And he's been over 30 fantasy points each of the last three. He is shooting the ball plenty. I mean, despite not really playing a ton of minutes, he's very involved while he's out there. Obviously can give you some steals and blocks, rebounds, that type of stuff. So where he's priced now, would be very intrigued by him, especially with no Valanciunas, but I do think he's kind of in play regardless. But obviously a stronger play with no Val. Yeah, I think you're right that Tillman would step back onto the radar. Only about 24 minutes in that Dallas game, but still about a fantasy point per minute. So if that the playing time rises a little bit, we have a pretty nice ceiling on him for where he's priced. Brandon Clark, I don't think would be somebody I'd be looking to roster. He is coming off of a very efficient game, but only 19 minutes in that contest with no Valanciunas. That has me a little bit worried for his ceiling. And then, I think Morant's definitely in play. And Dylan Brooks is another guy. Price is coming up on DraftKings. Still 5.6 on FanDuel, and he'll get a pretty nice bump with no Valanciunas. So he'd be a guy on FanDuel that I'd be looking to consider as well.
All right, moving on to the next one, LeVert. Obviously, he's been on a tear recently, being up a ton of usage. Like if he's out, big usage hole, and then on top of that, just a whole bunch of minutes to go around for a lot of guys. What are we looking at for LeVert?
Yeah, I mean, if he sits, I mean, Sabonis might be projected for like 6 million fantasy points, even without like a minutes bump from where he is. He's been like it's kind of, I guess, more or less a triple double machine of late, just contributing massive numbers, especially rebounding with no Turner there. The assist numbers have been crazy with no Brogdon. So his projection is going to go wild. TJ McConnell, I think, in terms of the guards, would be the guy that get the biggest bump with no LeVert. I mean, you had touched on it. We have LeVert projected from his 46 fantasy points in 38 minutes. So that is a ton of production to go around. I think McConnell will get a big chunk of it. He'd probably be the guy that'd be the most excited to play. But all of these guards and wings are going to pick up some semblance of viability. And I wouldn't be surprised if LeVert sits, if like the optimal lineup has like 3 Pacers in it and 2 of them are, towards minimum price. But, that obviously depends on how there's so many questionable players right now that just anything could happen. It's going to be a wild next couple of hours.
Yeah, and then I guess last up, the Hawks. Like Bogdanovich is questionable, Capella's questionable. Like, what are you guys really going to end up doing with that situation? Especially both of them end up missing. Is Collins going to be more in the mix?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're tough. Like, obviously they do want to win this game, but they're playing the Orlando Magic as 13-point favorites, and they'll still be double-digit favorites even if a lot of these guys sit. So they're a really tough one for me on this one. Like, even if we see Capella, Bogdanovich, and Gallo sit, like I could see a world where Trey and Collins like don't play normal minutes. Especially, I mean, obviously this one kind of gets out of hand at any point, but the Hawks worry me for a variety of reasons. But yeah, I mean, it's just very, very tough to peg them right now. I think if we get all 3 of these guys out, like Kevin Huerter, I think would be somebody I'd be pretty intrigued by as like a value play. DeAndre Hunter, I don't think the minutes would be there. Lou Williams would need Trae Young to sit. So I don't think beyond that there would really be that much kind of value that we're not playing, Solomon Hill. So there's really not much value opened up, even if these kind of guys do sit that you can feel comfortable with. I think Okongwu with no Capella would be somebody that I'd be kind of intrigued by. But yeah, it's we'll kind of need to see how this one shakes out. It's a very volatile situation, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it is a matchup versus Orlando, but they are still like I'm fairly certain they'd rather have a first round home field advantage, and fairly certain they do not want to play the Bucks in the first round because obviously
exactly, yeah,
they're a half game up on both the Heat and Knicks. Like, yeah,
they definitely want to win.
Yeah. So I mean, they might not get full extended run, but if this game is moderately close, they will. And if this game is even a bit of a blowout, we could still see them end up with a little bit more run than they probably should in any given situation, just because they do want to absolutely get that number 4 seed or at the very least number 5 seed. Dre, you got any questions for SBK?
No, I was looking over the projections here. Everything seems nothing is off besides what I feel about Anthony Edwards, but I understand his price point is a little high, so that's probably why.
All right, Will.
I'm good, man. Keats, good to talk to you again, my brother.
Yeah, man, it's been a fun season with you guys. Actually, I'm not going to be on tomorrow, so this is, I think, my last regular season call all the year. So yeah, it's been awesome being on with you guys every day, or you guys most days at least. Definitely going to miss it a little bit, but I'm kind of glad to have my life back to some degree. So yeah, the only other situation I was kind of curious what you guys thought about this. So the San Antonio New York game, like I feel like New York obviously with a bit more to play for than San Antonio. San Antonio also on a back-to-back. Do you guys think I feel like there's a chance that we maybe get some weird things from the Spurs. Is anybody else like thinking that that's a possibility?
That's always a possibility with Pop. Always.
Trying to figure that out beforehand.
Don't even open that wound. Me and Andre are mad because these guys got sat last night in the fourth quarter with the game not even out of hand. Screwed up our DeJounte Murray shares that we had. DeJounte's on a roll, and he just puts him in the doghouse. Oh.
Yeah, that was the one thing I think I wanted to at least touch on that we didn't, is that I feel like weird things could be happening there. But yeah, that's pretty much about it for me.
Oh, nice. Well, SPK, thanks for going on. Thanks for thanks for brightening up my season every single time you came on throughout the course of the season. You've done a great job. We appreciate it, my friend.
Bro, it's very kind of you to say. Good luck tonight, boys, and yeah, hopefully talk to you guys soon.
All right. See you, SBK. All right. Well, I think we're going position by position earlier, guys. Remember, any questions you have for tonight's slate, go ahead and drop them into chat. We'll leave the last 10, 15 minutes, depending on how many questions we have, to kind of go through and answer all those. Devin will be compiling throughout the show, so no, we need to throw them in over and over again. Just go ahead and get them on there. And guys, you should also sign up for premium on RG. You're obviously watching this one free, but a lot of good stuff. There's combo packages, there's combo everything, and there's going to be a link dropped in the chat for $10 off your first month of either combo, which is NASCAR, esports, soccer, MMA, college football, or single sport RG premium. All that stuff, but Devin's going to drop that in the chat. But let's
hold on, Grant. Let's pitch this to the higher ups. I've got a good marketing strategy for our combo segment. Buy a combo, get a combo, right? Buy a combo. Why don't we start sending people combos in the mail? Not combos from Wendy's or McDonald's. I'm talking about pretzels with cheese-filled goodness inside.
Oh,
they've got
gosh,
pepperoni.
I love combos.
They've got cheese. They've got bacon. Oh, man. Come on, Devin.
I'm a big fan of the pizza.
Buy a combo, get a combo. I like it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the pepperoni pizza combos. Those are just outstanding. I've had one of those in a year. I've got about 2,500 miles of driving over the next month, so I might have to stop by some gas stations and pick up some
convenience
combos.
store near you. Buy a combo, get a combo. Come on, Dan. I know you're watching this show. Let's start sending people combos in the mail. Hey, RG, we're big enough to get these things in bulk. Buy a combo, get a combo. I like it.
Yeah, so do I. All right, let's move on to shooting guard here. Obviously, we got Gary Trent Jr. with no one else there in Toronto. I think he's likely to be the highest owned guy. Seth Curry, we're projecting for 20% ownership because we're not projecting, what's his name, Embiid to be in. Like Jalen Harris, going to have a whole bunch of minutes, super cheap. Andre, who are you looking at shooting guard?
As you mentioned before, Gary Trent Jr. is someone I'm looking at, but I'm still going to dig into it a little bit because I don't know what it is about him. He's definitely, to me, I don't think he's like more of a cash game play just because of how he plays. He's definitely, to me, more boomer bust. In the situation, I know calls for him to play well and be successful because he's like pretty much the last man standing. But I can see many ways to him failing and not putting up and giving you a dud at 4,900. And that's very, very hard to do because if he just shoots and misses every shot, which he's definitely capable of.
He shot 3 for 16 in the last game. That's why he screwed the pooch.
Yeah, but that's been his whole career. So he's to me, he's a tournament play, not more of a cash game play out, but his ownership is going to reflect that he's a cash game play. I do like getting into Dante DiVincenzo. He's, to me, a sneaky play that at shooting guard that you could use to pivot off of Gary Trent. It costs him a couple of dollars more on FanDuel. I'm pretty sure I think he's around the same price too on DK as well. But I think he's a phenomenal play in this matchup with Indiana, who've been playing a lot faster lately. And then without Caris LeVert, and if Caris LeVert doesn't play, that this incentivizes the game to potentially be more of a blowout, but also Dante to get more peripherals and more stats. So I like him a lot as far as with the shooting guard position. I also don't mind targeting CJ McCollum. I know it's a tough matchup against Phoenix, but he's going to go unowned. And those two guys, as far as Lillard and Lillard and McCollum, you can play on any given slate. It doesn't matter the matchup; they're liable to go off at any given moment, any given matchup. So I don't mind taking some GPP deep like darts at him for sure. And the last person I like at low ownership and getting a little bit more exposure to is actually Zach LaVine. I know Toronto. I think we have him right now at like about 3%, but he's played 35 and 36 minutes the last 2 games. So to me, he's ramping back up, getting into it. So I like for him to possibly maybe have a breakout game, even because Chicago is still not that great of a team either. So I look for this game to still be kind of close, even though Toronto has a whole bunch of bodies out.
All right, Will, you got anything to add on?
I will say this on DK, where you got so much flexibility. Like, there's so many guys you can play. Composite, you can play at shooting guard. Hero, you can play at shooting guard. DiVincenzo, Seth Curry, 4,700. Like, there's going to be options galore. So I think you just kind of choose wisely, you know, with your lineup construction. Like, you may want to kind of flip some guys. Like I said, maybe you don't play Composite at point guard. Maybe you reserve point guard for just guys like Ben Simmons. I don't want to play DeJounte Murray today. He has 7K on DK, which is still like squarely in play. So maybe you save all your point guard spots just for the guys that are just point guards: Rubio, Flynn, TJ McConnell, Kendrick Nunn, Goran Dragic. All that's depending on the Jimmy Butler news, of course, but you save it for that. And then you get your shooting guard exposure with some of your point guard, shooting guard types, or only shooting guards. That's kind of how I would run this slate today, especially if you're multi-entering like that. I feel like that's going to be a good way to do it. And of course, if you're running the tool anyway, if you're using Lineup HQ, it's just going to do it for you. But if you want to lock some guys in, like me locking in Compazzo, I'm going to try my hardest to get him in at shooting guard versus point guard to open it up for me a little bit more.
All right. Well, let's move on to small forward. We'll get to questions soon. Keep dropping them into chat, guys. Will, you got to start us off on small forward.
Well, to me, small forward is kind of a wasteland today. Like, it's ugly. Like, with Michael Porter Jr. not playing, Jimmy Butler questionable. Like, do I have to play Kawhi Leonard today? Like, he's cheap across the industry, period. He's 8,400. He's going to get off on Charlotte. I'm telling you that right now. The question is it tight enough down the stretch for him to get to 50? Like, that's what I think you're thinking about. Can Kawhi Leonard get to 50 today? The answer is yes. He can absolutely get to 50. So he's someone that I'm really interested in. He's kind of the main guy. After that, you're really getting into like this cheap range on DK with like Kyle Anderson. Aaron Gordon is 5,100. You know I hate Aaron Gordon, but I also can't be stupid. Like, there's no Michael Porter Jr., there's no PJ Dozier, there's no Jamal Murray. They don't even really want to play Paul Millsap. There's no Monty Morris tonight. If Aaron Gordon doesn't go out here and score 30 fantasy points, he needs to get traded back to Orlando. That's what needs to happen immediately. I would go back and get RJ Hampton. I'd get Gary Harris. I'd take him. We just wipe this trade out, please. Send us our players back, and we'll take get Aaron Gordon out of here. If he can't score 30 points today, he needs to be fired, Grant. Fired. So I said all that to say at 5,100 on DK, 3,900 on FanDuel. He's only power forward, so I don't want to get in your lane, Dre. But he should be in play today. Just don't be dumb, Aaron Gordon. Just do what you're supposed to do. It's a matchup against Minnesota. And now that I'm saying this and I'm thinking about it, he's going to score 12 fantasy points today and screw everything up. Aaron Gordon, jeez. And then Kevin Huerter, if all these guys are out from Atlanta. I did mean to mention that. I do think the Atlanta news is just as big as Jimmy Butler. But, like, if all those guys are out, like Kevin Huerter, I'm probably going to lock him on FanDuel as well. Like, I'm going to have 4 lock buttons today. I can tell you that, at least 4 for sure, because I'm locking in Jokic at center. I'm sure people wanted to know that. I'm not screwing around. Jokic is going off today. Hit the lock button. I know Drake's probably not going to do that. But, for me, I'm absolutely doing this. But Kevin Huerter on DK is, I think, a big-time play, especially if all those guys are out. I'm going to shut up now, Grant, and let you do your thing.
All right. Well, my thing's pretty easy. Just Dre. Finish up small forward and move on to power forward so we can get to questions.
Okay, you're right. I definitely am not. I can't do locks. It's kind of hard for me. It's so hard for me. But small forward, I love Anthony Edwards today. It's different, priced up. He's not going to be owned that much. I know he doesn't have he's not grading out well, but Denver is not playing anyone really. this game should still be competitive still, because I don't think Minnesota is really any good. But if Denver finds a way to blow them out, then like you said, the people of Minnesota needs to figure something out with their team. But I also love Mikal Bridges against that Portland matchup. He's someone I'm going to probably get triple the field on, I can imagine, just looking at the ownership right now. At 5,600, that matchup, he's just a great glue piece for your lineups. And Maurice Harkless has been playing a lot more minutes lately and playing really well. The past 3 games, 39, 25 minutes against OKC, which I don't know why, and then 33, but he's been producing the fantasy points. I know he's priced up a little bit more, but I think he's a good play today for sure. I'm gonna have some Kawhi exposure. I'm probably gonna be under the field on him. And Chris Middleton, 7.7 is a great price on FanDuel, so I'll probably be a little bit under the field on him or at the field, just because Chris Middleton has not been playing great lately, and I feel like they might not. I don't know how serious they're going to take this game when they already know how the playoff seeding is going to go for them, pretty much in the East. But yeah, I think that's really it. Besides also Kyle Anderson on the opposite end of the Sacramento game. But other than that, that's what I have as small forward. If you go to power forward, the only person that would be as close to a lock as possible would have been Eric Gordon at 3,900. He just too cheap. Just play him. I'm going to be double the field on him. And if he fails me, then I probably won't win nothing tonight.
I do have the lock button on Aaron Gordon on FanDuel for what it's worth.
I feel like that's a smart move.
You can see my theme with all my lock buttons. If you haven't figured it out yet, I've given you at least 4. 3 of them are from the same team. If you haven't figured out what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And then Jaren Jackson, I love him today. I know he's a little bit priced up, but I think he's a great play. Julius Randle, expensive. I know he's 9K on FanDuel. He at 13% is too low of ownership for him in this matchup against San Antonio. I know he can still go off, and the Knicks, I think, are still trying to play for something to get us high up, because Tom Thibodeau does not take his foot off the gas for anything. Julius Randle, I know, and Julius Randle is going to probably be going against the second unit of San Antonio because a lot of the players are hurt or injured. So I like him today for sure. Tobias Harris is my last person I really am into today. But that is definitely if Joel Embiid is out. If he is, then definitely play him and lock him in for sure. And I'll have a little bit of exposure to Paul Millsap in tournaments, but not a lot.
All right, Will, go ahead and just anyone he missed at power forward, get center, and then we'll get to questions.
I think I said this on a pod last night. Indiana has been terrible on defense, like ridiculously terrible. The only reason I'm not hitting the lock button on Giannis tonight is because I don't feel like it's the smart move when you got Tobias, John Collins possibly with no Capella, Julius Randle at 9K, Sabonis at 10.5, and these prices are pretty similar on DK. Like Giannis is 10.9, Sabonis is 10.7, Randle's 9.4. Like, Tobias is 73. They're really tight. So I just can't lock Giannis in. Indiana's been so bad. Like if Giannis is going to drop a 70 spot, it's tonight. Like Indiana's been bad, bro. So I really like Milwaukee today as kind of a team that everybody's kind of be on Giannis, but maybe not some of the other pieces. That's why when Dre mentioned DiVincenzo, I got real excited. He's like the sneaky guy from that team all the time that just he gets 3 or 4 steals and blocks, and then he's at 40, and you're like, dang, again? Like it's what he does, man. So I Milwaukee sneaky today against Indiana. I'm hoping that that LeVert plays because that's going to keep the game more competitive, which should just help push Giannis' ceiling. But Giannis is probably going to be my second highest on power forward or center tonight on DK, depending on how you slice it.
Yeah, center real quick. Just a few favorite ones so we can get to questions real quick.
Mine is Jokic, and more Jokic.
All right, Dre.
I'm gonna Jokic for sure. Then I like a little bit of Nerlens Noel today, and depending on how we get with the Dwight Howard news, I like him a little bit in tournaments too. And I'm not gonna don't sleep on Yusuf Nurkic. I think he has he's in a spot where A does not play great defense, and he might be out tonight. He can go off and have a big game, and then you could even target Cancer and a deep GPP play because he can go off, especially if, like I said, A is out.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some questions. Start off with Billups, FD lock of the day, DK lock of the day. Just give me one of each, Will.
I mean, my FanDuel lock of the day, I'm just gonna say it's the 3 Denver Nuggets, man. Campazzo, Gordon, Jokic. And guess what? I'm gonna do the same thing on DK. Jokic, Campazzo. I'm not changing my strategy either side, even with the price difference. I mean, this is the spot for me.
All right, Andre, anyone to add there?
Closest to a lock to me is going to probably be, I would say, Jokic in the spot, but I kind of also do like Chris Paul a lot, so he might be someone else to target too, and maybe what's his name, John Morant. Sorry.
All right, Will, who are you hitting the X button on?
Man, plenty of guys today. I guess I didn't get a chance to go through my list. Here's what I'll do. I'll tell you who I have excluded. PJ Washington, X button. Rudy Gay, X button. Jarrett Vanderbilt, X button. Oh, let me hit all positions. It's not filtering right. I'm even fading Vooch today. JV, I'm fading DeLon Wright.
Any high on guys you're fading?
All right, let me sort it by ownership. Freddie Gillespie is getting the X button. Not playing him today. And he's going to get run. X button galore. DeAndre Bembry, X button. Yuta Watanabe, X button. I'm not playing this crazy value from Toronto for them to get 20 fantasy points. I'm just not doing it.
All right. Move on to the next one. FanDuel, GBP. Anyone to pair with Trae Young or perhaps someone on Orlando to run it back with?
RJ Hampton, I like. And I also like Cole Anthony.
Yeah. What about Gordon?
I'm going to take the DK. Sorry. I'm going to take DK. Dre's going to take FanDuel. That cool?
That's perfect. All right. So I'm just going to answer this one. What about Gordon on Denver, 3.9 on FanDuel? Yeah, no, lock him in. We all said lock him in. Any game props or bets for tonight? Either of you got one?
I am running back my Gary Trent 19.5 prop. Like, he didn't get there the other night, but he shot 16 times, right? Yeah. And he's going to shoot 3-pointers. Good luck. Like, I'm just going to run that one back and remake my money on it. Like, Gary Trent over under 19.5, I'm taking the over, period.
Yeah, I'm still angry about Daniel Lynch getting pulled after 66 pitches, one pitch away, one strikeout away from hitting his prop. I'm still very, very angry at that after 2.2 innings. DK, Brooks or Trent Jr. in GPP?
It said Brooks or Trent Jr.?
Yeah, for GPPs.
And they're asking me to choose. Mm-hmm. I'm still going to take Trent. I think he's got more upside in a vacuum.
All right, FanDuel GPP. Where are we spending up?
Center.
Yeah, Joker. You game stacking anywhere on FanDuel tonight?
Oh, always game stacking. So obviously Minnesota Denver is just my favorite game. My sneaky game that I'm going to target as a game stack is going to be that Portland Phoenix game, and Sacramento Memphis. Those are my top 3.
All right, Richie, am I crazy for playing Joker and running it back with Towns?
Oh, clearly a DK question, and I think the answer is no. Like, I don't expect Denver to win this game by a lot. Even if they win, honestly, Denver could lose this game. They're short a lot of people today. I expect this game to be very competitive. I like it.
Yeah. I like that. What are you saying, Tina? Any interest in Jonas Valanciunas?
No.
I'm guessing it's Valanciunas and
I don't think he's going to play. So I
don't think he's playing. Yeah, so no.
Yeah. And best DK play under 4K.
Shoot, good question. And I should have known I was going to get that question. Honestly, if you could just get up to Metu, that's probably what I would do. He's 4,100. So I'm not trying to get away from the question because I know what you asked, but at 4,200, I think Metu's probably like the play you need.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of answers the next one. DKGPP Ford for 4.3K or less. Meto's 3.9 or 4.1. Can't remember.
Yeah, he's 4. How much is Metu?
4.1.
Yeah, 4-1. You said.
Yeah, 4-1. That best play, period.
So you prefer him to Watanabe?
Yeah, Nerlens Noel is 4,200, and Tillman is 4,200. But they're center only, but they're still cheap enough. Like that, those are good plays.
All right, we got someone asking stud lock button on DK. Just tuned in. You guys, you missed a good show so far.
I mean, it's Jokic for me.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. I think it's pretty much the same for all three of us. We got our best value play, small forward for FanDuel.
Oh goodness. I'm gonna say Mikal Bridges, even though I know it's not a true value play, but to my definition of value for what he offers in the matchup, as Mikal Bridges.
All right, and top 3 studs on FanDuel Cash, top 3 value plays. And this is the last question we got so far, so go ahead and take your time.
Top 3 studs on cash games.
Yeah.
So Jesus. It's gonna be Giannis. So if I have to, it's gonna be Giannis, Jokic, and if Jimmy plays, I think Jimmy.
All right, top 3 value plays.
Top 3 value plays.
Outside, well, I guess Aaron Gordon's number 1.
Yeah, outside of Aaron Gordon, outside of Aaron Gordon, you gotta say Gary Trent. You gotta say Metsu's another good value play too. Those are like my top 3 for sure.
And someone asked what Malone. Are we worried about what Malone said about playing time? Does that scare you?
I'm not really worried about it.
No.
Yeah, and it looks like we are all caught up, and we're pretty much out of time. Will, any last minute thoughts on the slate?
Nope. I think I've given what I plan on doing tonight, and we're gonna see if it pans out for us.
Yeah, Dre, any last minute thoughts?
Play some game stacks tonight. I think tonight's going to be a sneaky game stack tonight where you might have there's going to be a lot of concentrated players from certain games due to injuries. So use that as your strategy tonight, I think, and you'll get to the top.
All right, thanks for joining us, everyone. We got Dean and Cardi coming up on the next show in about 10 minutes. Then we got Crunch Time with Roth, Meansy, Tuttle. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us this NBA season. I don't know if I'll be back on another show before the regular season ends, but it's been fun. Thanks, Will. Thanks, Dre. We're out of here. See you, kids.
Back in the Fantasy Bar, 6 games on the docket, and I've got 6 plays for you, including a couple of big boppers I think go yard tonight. My favorite value play on the slate, a starting pitcher in the mid-range with some upside and a good matchup, and a beast of the night I think goes ham tonight. Who is it? Belly up to the Fantasy Bar and find out. Welcome in, guys. Thursday edition Beers Daily Fantasy 6-pack. Good to be back here once again doing another video covering the 7 o'clock slate. We got some early games. If you're playing those, good luck in those. But we are going to focus on the 6 games starting at 7:05. Thank you, as always, for stopping by and tuning into the video. Now, before we get into the plays, guys, as always, first thing, hit that thumbs up button. Just takes a second, but really helps us out here. So thank you for that in advance. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel, get notified when these videos get released. Lastly, if you're into sports betting, if you're thinking about getting into sports betting, go and check out scoresandodds.com/beer. Link is in the description of the video, guys. Tons of sports betting information there to get you started. If you're a seasoned sports bettor, plenty of information there for you as well. Compare odds across all the different sports books. premium picks across a bunch of different sports and can pay by the week, the month, or the year, whatever suits your fancy. Go and check it out. Click that link in the description. Get signed up today at scoresandodds.com/beer. All right, let's get into the plays here tonight. You know the rules. Coors Field on the docket. Too easy. We're not going to clog up the six-pack with guys from that game. So we're going to focus on guys outside of Coors Field, and we're going to start one of those big boppers I promised I think is in a good spot tonight. Let's pay some money here in the outfield for Aaron Judge of the Yankees. So Judge really been a pain in the ass here for the Rays in the first couple games of this series. 5 hits so far in those games for Aaron Judge, and we know big-time power here against left-handed pitching. 362 ISO over the last couple seasons. WOBA sitting at 443. When we look into the pitching matchup here with Rich Hill, he loves to use the fastball, and Judge very good against that pitch. Fact, 459 WOBA, 373 ISO against fastballs. Hill uses that about 37% of the time against right-handed hitters. And again, you can find this information in our Plate IQ tool here in Rotogrinders Premium. But Hill gives up some power as well. You see that ISO at 233, a hard contact rate at 45%. Those are the kind of numbers we want to see when we're looking at a power hitter here. Aaron Judge certainly fits the bill, and a guy I want to pay some money on. FanDuel, priced a little bit too low to me at just $3,200. Let's take advantage. All right, let's go to the other side of that game. Let's stay in the outfield with some value with Austin Meadows of the Rays. Now, Meadows, kind of a slow start. You know, that batting average down under 200, kind of alarming, but the power has been there. The guy has 7 home runs on the season, so that's the encouraging part. Not only that, but the numbers against righties, very good as you'd expect. 281 ISO, 357 weighted OBA. We're going to look into the pitches again, and very good against the fastball, and he's going to get a lot of those from Jameson Taillon. Over 50% of the time, he's going to use that pitch against left-handed hitters. WOBA over 400, ISO over 300 against the fastball. So I think this is one of those matchups that could really get Meadows going here and turn those numbers around. But the power is really what we're focused on here. And Taillon has struggled with lefties. 379 WOBA and ISO at 260, and fly ball rate 50%. So again, for a power hitter, that's what we want. Get the ball up in the air, along with a 33% hard contact rate allowed to left-handed hitters. So Meadows, don't let that batting average alarm you. Look at the power here, and I think he's in a good spot to go yard once again tonight against Jameson Taillon. All right, let's get a starting pitcher here in the mid-range. We're going to go with Zach Plesac of the Indians. Now, there's more expensive guys on the slate, the Javiers, the Rogers of the world, that probably provide a little bit more strikeout upside. But Plesac has kind of raised his game here in the strikeout department of late. 13 strikeouts over his last 13 innings, over those last couple starts. And when we look at his Seattle Mariners team, I think this is a team we could get one of those ceiling strikeout games for Plesac. 8th highest strikeout rate in all of baseball against right-handed pitching so far this season. And he's given us at least 4 strikeouts in every start, 6 or more in 3 of his last 6 starts. In Seattle, you look into some of the other numbers here. We're talking about a team in the bottom half of the league in ISO, WRC plus, that WOBA down at the 6th worst rate against right-handed pitching on the season. So just a punchless lineup here. Sure, there's some hitters that could do some damage here, but I like the Cleveland bats behind him providing some run support here. I think the strikeouts will be there in this matchup. So Zach Plesac, a great option here tonight in the mid-range, and a great matchup with this Seattle Mariners team. All right, let's stay there with Cleveland. We said we like the bats, so let's load one up here at third base with Jose Ramirez. So you're paying big prices here for Jose Ramirez, no doubt. We found you some value, trying to make it a little easier to get him in those lineups, but the prices have come down some. And a little bit of a cold streak here. But the encouraging news, the prices have come down a little bit. This guy started out red hot to the season, drove the prices up. Now they've come down to a playable level here. And the numbers against righties just jump off the page here for Jose Ramirez. 465 in the ISO department. 455 is the WOBA so far this season. And Logan Gilbert, toeing the slab here for Seattle, one of the top prospects in all of baseball, no doubt. This guy's a top 30 prospect according to MLB.com. But I always love going against a guy like this. First of all, very inexperienced, only made 1 start at AAA. So as highly touted as some of these guys are, it's a big jump to come into the majors and pitch, especially in your debut. You're nervous, you don't know what to expect. Also, when people look into stats, there's nothing really to go off of for Gilbert besides his minor league stats. So that may help people avoid the Indians as well, just not knowing what this guy can do. So add all that together, I like Ramirez here. I like the Indians as a stack here. I think a lot of people want to pay that $4K on Gilbert, save some money. I don't hate that approach. If you didn't like the Indians, to me, I want the Indian side of this. I want the bats, but mainly I want Jose Ramirez here in this matchup with Logan Gilbert. All right, let's keep moving on in the infield here at first base with Nate Lowe of the Rangers. So we talked about some of the high-end pitchers on the slate. I think Javier will certainly be one of the higher-end guys that people go to. So this is a nice leverage spot. A lot of people aren't looking at Texas bats here. A lot of people aren't going to be going with bats against these high-end pitchers. That's going to give us a guy with big-time upside at very low ownership here with Nate Lowe. And a guy that's done very well against right-handed pitching, 278 ISO. You see that 400 WOBA, 4 multi-hit games for him now over the last 9. And Javier has struggled a little bit over his last couple starts. 8 earned runs allowed in the last 2 starts. And again, the lethal mix we want when we're looking at power hitters. We need fly balls and we need hard contact allowed. Wow, Javier's given us 47% in both of those categories here. So again, Texas, not a team that we're generally looking for a ton of bats, but there is power here with Nate Lowe. The numbers against righties are good. Javier's recent struggles have me encouraged, and those fly balls and hard contact rate, exactly what we want. Nate Lowe, a low-owned option for you, I think has big-time upside here tonight on both FanDuel and DraftKings. All right, let's take a look at my favorite play on the slate. But before we do that, we're going to continue our Beast of the Night contest. This is a thank you to everybody that comes and hangs out in the fantasy bar, hits that thumbs up button, signs up for scoresandodds.com. Whatever it is you come and do here, I appreciate it, and we say thank you with this contest. So all you have to do, get in the comment section right below the video and guess fantasy points for my highest scoring hitter of the 5. Can be any of them. Closest guess on DraftKings will win themselves a free 3-day pass to Rotogrinders Premium, a chance to check out all of these tools that we talk about every day, Lineup HQ, Plate IQ, so on and so forth. Or if you're already a subscriber, we will send you a free Rotogrinders t-shirt. Let's wrap this baby up with my favorite play for Thursday night. You know him as the Beast of the Night. All right, Beast time. One more bat to go. We're going to go back to the outfield here with YORDAN ALVAREZ of the Astros, tonight's Beast of the Night. So Alvarez is really the matchup of the whole slate that jumped off the page to me, and that's generally who lands in the Beast spot here. But let's dig into some of the numbers against righties. An ISO over 300, a WOBA over 400 here. When we start to look at the pitches that Fultenowicz is going to be throwing here, generally throws a lot of fastballs and sinkers to left-handed hitters. We're talking about over 63% of the pitches that he's going to throw to lefties here. Fastballs, Alvarez, 416 WOBA, 275 ISO. Smashes that pitch. Sinker, 433 WOBA, and a 324 ISO. So both of Fultenowicz's primary pitches are pitches that Alvarez has hit well in his career. Not to mention, Fultenowicz, we know, struggles big time with left-handed bats. You see that massive 375 ISO allowed, a 430 WOBA allowed, and of course, the fly ball, hard contact rate combo I love, 52% fly ball rate, 48% hard contact rate. Alvarez in an absolute smash spot here tonight. If he was 6,200 on DraftKings, I still want him in my lineup. The matchup is that good here tonight. YORDAN ALVAREZ, easily my favorite play on the board in tonight's Beast of the Night. All right, guys, that'll wrap us up here for Thursday in the Fantasy Bar, talking baseball with 5 of my favorite hitters and my favorite pitcher on the slate tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any comments, questions, feedback, hit me up in that comment section. You can follow me on Twitter at BeerMakersFan.
is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here at Dean 7904. If you want to get all technical, I'll be just 5:15 on the dot on the East Coast, 2:15 West Coast, 4:15 Tennessee time, which of course means it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. Joining me today, returning champion, CEO of the Bat. So good yesterday. We're bringing him back today. It was on the schedule, but he did crush yesterday. It's Derek Carty. What's up, Carty?
How's it going? We're getting the encore performance tonight.
Yeah, the sequel is always better than the original. That if movies have taught me anything.
I mean, Electric Boogaloo 2, or no, what shit? I screwed it up. What is it? Never mind.
Yeah, I know you're Saturday Night Live or Saturday Night Fever. You're thinking of the sequel to that, correct? Which is
Yes,
Electric
or,
Boogaloo.
Indiana, yeah, or Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Like sequels are always better, right?
Yeah, sure. What Weekend at Bernie's too? We can all attest to that
Weekend
one.
at Bernie's too.
You know, it's a damn shame they did not have a sequel to Major Payne. Remember Major Payne?
Yeah, I remember Major Payne from when I was a kid. That's a throwback. It's kind of random. Where did Major Payne come from?
It's a shout out to the pre-show conversation I had with Devin. Devin's a big stand for Major Payne. He's our producer extraordinaire, multi-talented. One of those talents apparently is having he can quote Major Payne, the Damon Wayans vehicle from like 30 years ago. Maybe he'll drop it on us later on in the show. Of course, Devin does join the show last 15 minutes or so. He speaks on behalf of the chat. He fires off your questions for us. So what's up, chat? Let's say hello. What's up, YouTube? Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. We're happy to answer your questions, overarching questions as far as this slate. I mean, we're going to talk about it in a second. It is just super, super straightforward. It's the Rockies. Well, not the Rockies, the Coors game, and the Reds are playing the Rockies. And we said this in the pre-show, Cardi, before we kind of dive in and break down pitchers, break down the hitters and all that. You can have the best hitters, and it doesn't cost you anything because the prices are ridiculously cheap for whatever reason, and you're not like missing out on Garrett Cole. He's not available this late or anybody like that. There's no Bieber, there's no DeGrom. It's the whole slate is ownership. It's just like, well, do I want to be well over the field? Do I want to be well under the field? And of course, we'll run down what to do in cash games, and everybody's going to have 4 Reds and 5 Reds, depending on what site you're playing on as far as your cash games. And it might come down to like a 2v2 and which pitcher you happen to pair. But that's the slate, isn't it, Cardi?
It really is. Like, it blows my mind that we're in the middle of May and pricing is still this bad. Like, why? Why is half the Reds team 4K in Coors Field? Like, it's just stupid.
Yeah, and not just that, like they're also multi-position eligibility. Senzel, second base and outfield, 3K on FanDuel leading off. Like his ownership's going to be completely insane. On DK as well, he's another guy with multi-position eligibility. He's 3.7. I mean, Connor Joe's not good, but he's 2K in Coors. We'll talk about it. And hey, Kelnick, if you're a Mariners fan, get excited. This is your night, man. 2 of your biggest prospects. Kelnick, one of the biggest prospects in all of baseball, I guess, right there with Wander Franco. Is he top 3, top 4? What would you say, Cardi? I'm not really a aficionado of prospects, but I follow it peripherally.
He's definitely in there. I keep my pulse on the prospects by seeing how many people are upset with my projection for a player. That tells me how highly regarded a prospect is, because projections never like prospects as much as people want them to.
You have the bat projections on Fangraphs, and I did see Kelnick, and I was like, that seems low. That was my first reaction. Is like, Cardi hates Kelnick, just like you hated Tatis. And forget like the 7 or 8 or 9 that you got right, and like, hey, that guy wasn't as good as we all expect. Scott Kingery or something like that. I don't know.
Yep.
And was that one of them? It sounds like somebody that could have popped there.
Kingery
like,
was a highly regarded prospect. Like, there's so many of those guys that people just kind of conveniently ignore and point to, oh, Tatis and Acuna. They're not all Tatis and Acuna guys. It's not just the bat either. Like, the bat and Steamer have like the same projection for Kelenic, and it's kind of gross. But for 2K tonight, he's certainly interesting.
Yeah, you got the 2K hitter, one of the biggest prospects in all of baseball. We're assuming he's going to crack the lineup. The Seattle lineup is get the drop. Facing PLESAC, who's one of the better pitchers, but he is 2K. I don't know how much we need it, but it's there. And one of the reasons why you might not need it is, Logan Gilbert, one of the bigger prospects for Seattle, yes, depending on where you're looking, top 2, top 3 as far as their arms. And he's 4K, still minimum DK. And again, salary is kind of sort of not a thing. Do you want to start at Logan Gilbert? What 67 pitches he threw, I think, in the minors his last start. And generally speaking, the rule is what you move up in increments of like 15 or so. So we're projecting around 80-ish balls being thrown by Gilbert tonight. Does that sound reasonable?
That sounds reasonable with, I think, probably some upside to go beyond that, because even though it was like his first start, it probably wasn't really his first start, right? Like he was throwing in the alternate site, presumably before the minor league season started. He threw, a few starts there. So I do think, there's some potential beyond that, even though 80s may be our best guess. He's 4K and he does project well. As much as like people will look at the Kellenic projection and be like, why don't projection systems like this guy more? Logan Gilbert projects as like right on the border of like a top 100 pitcher in baseball, which is, like a solid middle of the rotation guy from day one. And the matchup's good tonight and the price is good. And so, Gilbert is, I think in cash games, a guy you're definitely, almost definitely playing.
See, that's one of the quandaries I have. And like, we'll talk about your projections as well. Like, I'm looking at a list that's updated. You have nobody projected more than 18 fantasy points on DK as far as the pitchers. Javier, Plesac, Rogers, Tyon, even Luis Castillo, I think is a really interesting conversation that I want to have.
I want to talk about him for sure.
Okay, because I'm going to have some Castillo tonight. I'm definitely going to play some, not in my cash game, not necessary. Like, why? It's not a risk that's worth taking. But Gilbert, you have, maybe 4 points, give or take. I know maybe I got to hit the update button on that, behind Javier and Plesac and Rogers and Tyon. But salary doesn't mean that much, but you think it's enough of a savings. You can upgrade a couple bats that you're fine rostering Gilbert in cash, because I'm a little hesitant about that.
About playing him in cash?
Yeah. Is that wrong? Because I don't think it's that hard to get Plesac and Javier and still get all the bats.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can, but it's not like Plesac and Javier project all that well. Like you said, there's nobody that even cracks 18 points today. So it's not like these guys are super priorities where I want to pay 10K for a guy who's going to give me 18 points when I can pay 4K for a guy who's going to give me like 14 or 15. Just in terms of like efficiently spending salary. Personally, I wouldn't be considering Javier. I just play Gilbert. I think he's going to be pretty popular anyway. It's not like you're going to be on an island playing this guy. Like, I think he's going to be a guy that you see a lot of players and probably most sharp players playing in cash.
Yeah, again, I'm just trying to figure out what it actually gets me that I can't get anyways. But I do agree with the sentiment that Javier is not the price. Okay, let's put this in perspective. Wasn't Garrett Cole yesterday like 10-8 and Javier is 10K?
Yeah.
And that's just preposterous. But like every slate's different. But, there's no way Javier should be basically the same price as Garrett Cole. He's a fine pitcher, sure. And it's not a great like dollar for dollar play. I think I have the money. So, and I prefer throwing a lefty at Texas, obviously. Plesac against Seattle. I know they're getting Kellenic, but that lineup still is not very good. Rogers in Arizona, the roof is going to be open. We did see that. I presume the roof's going to continue to be open. Do we know about Texas as far as the roof? Is that tweak gone out just yet?
They're not playing in Texas. They're playing in Houston, and the roof is open there, and it's close to 80 degrees, which is another reason why I think paying 10K for Javier is not the best thing you can do, because why are you going to overpay for a guy who is not awesome to begin with? Like, he's okay and is in the, probably the best hitting weather, second best hitting weather of the night.
All right. So talk to me about how much you're prioritizing or how much you like or don't like, or just kind of indifferent to the likes of Javier and Plesac. And I guess Trevor Rogers as well, too. Got to bring him into the conversation.
Yeah, so Plesac is my favorite of these guys. I think the matchup is the best, and he projects like the same as Javier, and you get a 2K discount on him. Plesac's a decent enough pitcher, well above average, borderline good pitcher. Good matchup against the Mariners, not a very good offense, very strikeout heavy. As much as people are maybe, going to be scared by, Kellenic joining the lineup again, he doesn't really project that well. It's Seattle, so the weather's going to be solid. I think you just take the discount on him. Nobody projects awesome today, but like you said, the pricing on the hitters is cheap. It's not like you're going to play like a 4K guy and a 6K guy. Like, play one of the expensive guys, play Gilbert, and I think Plesac's the one to land on. Again, because Javier has that open roof, because he's more expensive. Rogers is good, but he's getting the park downgrade going into Arizona. The roof's open there too. His leash is not very long at all. And so, You know, I think Plesac's just the guy. You know, Javier and Rogers, both of they're like baseline pitch count, like what they throw in like a normal start. Both are under 90 pitches, and Plesac is close to 100. So like it is a big difference in terms of leash also.
Let's have the most interesting conversation, I think, is Luis Castillo, who's been a disaster this year. The surface numbers have been really bad. This is, generally speaking, Coors is not a get right spot. It's not a get right spot from a BABIP perspective. And he's been super unlucky. I think that's one of the routes you can go. Maybe you're going to go that route as well. But he's got a batting average on balls in play this season, 33 innings, obviously not a massive sample, of 357, right? His ERA is 6.42, but the xFIP is 4. The Sierra is 4.3. Home run the fly ball rate, a little bit high at 18.5%. The left on base percentage is 54%. Like what league average, like 72? Is that the number more or less?
Roughly, yeah. And a lot of that is like tied to the BABIP, which you mentioned is insanely high.
And also the hard hit rate is 18.8%, though. That's the lowest in the slate. So he's not getting hit that hard. He's getting BABIPs. Home run the fly balls, not favorable to him. Of course, he plays in Cincinnati where it tends to be that way anyway. And he faces a Colorado team that's pretty terrible.
Yeah, they're very terrible and very strikeout friendly.
Yeah, so I think he's 6'3". Not that salary matters in the slate, but he's 6'3" or 6'2", depending on what slate you're shopping on. So he's one of the most interesting tournament plays tonight. And if he's right, you talk about leash, he's a guy that can go 6 or 7 in theory. Like sometimes he labors, of course. We've seen he's just not been great this year. But as far as ceiling, I don't know who has got a higher ceiling. Obviously, the ballpark not ideal. Where are you at as far as Castillo? Because I'm for sure going to make at least one Luis Castillo tournament let up tonight.
Yeah, Castillo's the best tournament play on the slate. It's not close in my opinion. Like you should have quite a lot of Luis Castillo tonight. He's projected at single-digit ownership. He's the best point per dollar guy on the slate outside of Gilbert. And like you said, like it's Coors Field and he's been bad. So I think that combination is scaring people off. But he's been getting a lot of bad luck. He still projects as the most talented pitcher on this slate. And he's 6.2K against the worst and the most strikeout heavy offense in baseball. The only thing working against him is Coors Field. And we can't understate that, obviously. But on a slate, especially where there's not a lot of good pitching, he's a fantastic play at what looks like very low ownership. Like he's going to be way too low owned.
The other argument, of course, is like Coors Field hurts your breaking balls, but he's got electric stuff. So I don't even think his arsenal, like this is, again, not ideal to be pitching there, but like the normal things that hit certain pitchers in Coors might not necessarily hit him. And did we mention Connor Joe is batting second for the Rockies tonight? That's not a creative player. I checked out his, I was curious what his Fangraphs the bat had it for him as far as oh God, what was it? His WRC plus was like 70.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah,
I was checking him out last week when I was putting in season long bids because I was pretty desperate, and he doesn't project out very well.
Yeah, and when you're batting second in Coors and you're 2K and you're still like, I guess I'll play this guy. I suppose maybe hold your nose. I don't feel good about it. I pulled it up. 72 is his projected WRC plus, which means you're 28% worse than the average hitter, that's bad. Yeah. Daza is not good. Trejo is not good. I mean, Blackman is fine, but not what he used to be, right? Tapia, if he gets the ball like in a gap, he's going to get a triple or something like that. McMahon's a legit stick, but
there's no Crone in the lineup who's their best hitter. Like it's a great spot for Castillo, except for it being Coors Field.
Is Story hurt or he's just not playing baseball tonight?
Yeah, Story's not in either. I don't know if he's hurt or not.
Yeah. Okay. So that I'm looking at the lineup. Like I feel like they're missing somebody else too. And
yeah, Story.
Yeah, he's a really good hitter.
No Story as well. And no Crone. Good luck to, anyone who's just writing Luis Castillo off because he's in Coors is making a big mistake tonight.
Hey, you're a season long guy too, right? Are you trading for Luis Castillo? I'm curious. Can you buy low right now on him?
I haven't tried. I probably should. Yeah, I would have no problem trading, buying low on Castillo right now.
What else is worth noting here I think Taillon is fine. I don't know how much I need of him. They did stretch him out to 99 pitches his last time out, which is pretty positive. Rogers, I think he's got the biggest K rate on this slate, at least from this year, 33%. An Arizona lineup that's not terribly imposing. Shamanaya has been pretty good. You know, you don't necessarily want to pick on Boston and Boston. They get a ballpark shift from, going from Oakland to Boston. It's mostly a slate with pretty good pitchers. We'll talk about the hitters in a second, but Chichi Gonzalez is probably the worst pitcher pitching in the worst pitching environment, and you can get all the Reds in the world. And that brings in the whole ownership conversation. But who else is worth a head nod of recognition of sorts? And who else do you think is worth some sprinklings as far as tournament plays from a pitching perspective?
I really don't think there's much else. I like PLESAC, I like Gilbert, I like Castillo a lot. I think Jamison Taillon, you mentioned, I think he is perfectly fine in GPPs, especially if that leash is going to start getting extended. He gets the park upgrade, he gets the good strikeout matchup. Those are kind of the guys. You can maybe make a case for Rich Hill at like no ownership, but just kind of a context of the slate thing.
Who is this? Kevon Smith. I didn't know he was on the Rays. Remember him?
Yeah, old White Sox catcher.
Yeah. Has he been a Ray all season long? I just haven't noticed him, or is this his first time playing baseball?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He apparently cracked the lineup tonight. Is Zanino? Zanino's obviously a K guy. Rosenrand. Yeah, it's Meadows. That lineup's been bad. Brendan Lowe he's got some power, obviously, but Tampa has certainly sputtered this year. They're not necessarily a team you're afraid of. And yeah, good ballpark as well too. So, and like you said, we talked about the 99 pitches, it makes them pretty interesting. And it is a salary saver, but it's the question, of course, again, is what do I do with the salary? Because the best hitters are also not super cheap, but on sale. Give me a summary as far as, do we want to pick on the Marlins with Merrill Kelly, or just not necessary?
Not necessary. He's not a talented enough pitcher on a slate where there are talented pitchers. He's way overpriced. The roof is open. I don't have a lot of interest there.
Summarize the arms.
Play PLESAC as your ace in cash games. I think you probably pair him with Gilbert. In GPPs, I love Luis Castillo. I think Taillon's in the mix. That's kind of, I think, my pitching core tonight.
All right, going to talk to Sticks in just a second. I want to remind you guys, tomorrow night, Friday night, and I think all Friday nights going forward, free Crunch Time Friday presented by Big Brain. Play Big Brain. Again, we talked about that yesterday. It's the merging of the worlds of HQ Trivia and DFS. You enter tournaments, you enter contests. There's 50-50s, there's DPPs as well too, and it's trivia, and it's very specific trivia. As an example, the Beatles, beer, Monopoly, 90s comedy movies. Those are the options I think that are in play right now on the app. Also, it's I think they have the $50 deposit bonus. Yeah, matching $50 deposit bonus. There's no code necessary. And this is what got us talking about Major Pain pre-show. And of course, Cardi had to say, we know Cardi hates Anchorman, but we talked about like, what are the best 90s comedies of all time? And Major Pain came up on the Google, which we had a conversation about. But Cardi, of course, had to tell us how much he hates Dumb and Dumber. And I'm sure the chat approves of that.
It's just not like, it's not funny. It's like, it's just not.
Let's have the chat tell us their favorite 90s. As they're throwing out questions regarding the slate, Devin, I'm giving you more jobs, Devin. You got to compile the chat's favorite 90s comedies, and we'll get Cardi's reaction on that as well. All right. As far as the Sticks, let's talk catcher. Where are we looking for catcher tonight, Cardi?
Yeah. So catcher is always gross, and especially on a shorter slate, there's not a whole lot to love at catcher tonight. I think in GPPs, Gary Sanchez is interesting. Platoon advantage against Hill, definitely going to have some power potential. In cash games, though, I think you're probably just, saving a little bit of money, playing a guy like, I guess you could play Sanchez, but like a guy like Jason Castro at 3.2K, he's nothing special, but he's against Mike Fultonevich, one of the weaker pitchers on the slate. We mentioned the roof is open there, like 80-degree temperatures, so it's good hitting weather. He's got the platoon advantage. 3.2K is just a little too cheap for him, especially on what is a pretty gross catcher slate. Carson Kelly is really interesting if it looks like Rogers is going to be pretty popular. I like him as definitely as like a leverage play off of him.
What do you have for me as far as first base?
Yeah, so I I guess we're not quite into Reds territory yet. Like technically you can play Moustakas here, but I think you're better off just playing him at third. Matt Olson is probably the guy that I would be most interested in here, or Michael Chavis on the other side of this game. Fenway Park is, outside of Coors, the best hitting park on this slate. You know, Garrett Richards is a guy who is one of the weaker guys on this slate. Olson is a little bit underpriced. He's got the platoon advantage. He's got that big park upgrade going on for him. So I think Olson is a good play. Michael Chavis on the other side is leading off tonight for Boston. Platoon advantage against Manaea. He's 2.6K. So that's a really nice price. And then we have Connor Joe, who you mentioned a couple times already, who's hitting second for the Rockies tonight. Like, he's not good. He doesn't project good at all, but he's 2K hitting second in Coors Field. And so he's fine if you want to save a little bit of money by playing him.
Yeah, I mean, Connor Joe, he's holding a piece of wood. We presume he's been professionally trained to use it best, to hit a baseball. And he's super, super cheap, obviously. You mentioned Chavis, 2.2K on FanDuel as well. And it's just a matter of how much you need the savings. First base overall, though, it's pretty weak, right? It's a pretty weak position tonight, especially if you're shuffling like Moustakas to a different position.
Yeah,
depending on where you're shopping.
All year, honestly. Catcher first and second. It's always like, well, who am I going to play?
You know who's been one of the best, like, sneaky first baseman this year is Jesus Aguilar.
Oh yeah, he's been crushing.
Yeah, and we're not afraid of Merrill Kelly. And if I'm not mistaken, off the dome, isn't Merrill Kelly kind of sort of neutral, reverse splitsy from a pitching perspective? I don't think he's a big splits guy.
Neutral splits guy.
Yeah, and we talked about how we're expecting that roof to be open as well in Arizona. Not that he needs that extra boost. Aguilar's got plenty of power on his own, and you have the money, and it's a way to be different. With 3-4 on FanDuel's a pretty good price. I think he's like 4 and change on DK. I'm just kind of jumping back and forth on both these sites, and it's just worth noting. I'm looking at our lineup HQ, and as far as our projections for ownership, and I'm not somebody who's ownership obsessed, but when Moustakas is projected to be 42% owned, like 40. His fail rate is greater than 42%, isn't it? Like, whatever
every hitter in baseball's fail rate is greater than 42% in even the best matchup.
Yeah. And even if he goes out there and hits a solo home run and he goes 1 for 5, like, you could survive that. That's fine. Like, it's not a big deal. Of course, if you get runners are on, he goes 3 for 5 and yada, yada. And there's a couple doubles in the works as well, too. Then we're in trouble. But it's just a really good slate to have the ownership conversation. And then obviously, if you say, well, I'm not going to play this guy, you also have to answer the follow-up question as well. Who do we play instead, and who's going to actually beat that number? And Moustakas, his number might be 0. He might go over 5. Like, that can happen too.
Yeah.
Just try to be cautious. I mean, of course, in cash games, you're playing Moustakas and that's it, right? It's not if not at first base, you're going to be playing him at third base. I assume you're playing the Moose.
Oh, I think you have to in cash games.
Yeah, just want to acknowledge that and have that conversation, and just try to find some different ways to be different as far as the slate, because it's not even so much that it's the best team in the best environment against the worst pitcher. It's also that it's condensed. We're talking about just 6 games, so it's not like there's a bunch of other places where it's going to subdue ownership. It's going to be really, really condensed. And again, you're not spending up on Garrett Cole. You're not spending up on Bieber. You're not spending up on DeGrom. Where am I going to put my salary? There's no opportunity cost to roster the best hitters. Yeah. Outside of, like, everybody else is doing it too, which I guess, I don't know if that's opportunity cost or that's just sort of like it's just duplicate, and it doesn't necessarily make the greatest sense in tournaments. Just find that one off. Find the Teoscar Hernandez in the slate. If you can gotta make that work. Good luck figuring that out. But I think the Astros.
You mentioned Aguilar. Like, I like him tonight. I think a Marlin stack in general, makes a lot of sense tonight, and certainly as a one-off, he's good.
What do you have for me as far as second base?
Yep, second base is where we can start talking about the Reds. You are going to be playing as many Reds as the site will allow you to play in cash games tonight, because they're just far and away the best offense on this slate. They're facing the worst pitcher. They're in Coors Field, and they're all just way too cheap. Nick Senzel is the leadoff hitter, and he's 3.7K, and that's just silly. He projects like 2 points better than anybody else on the slate, even the 5 and 6K guys, and he's 3.7K. So you're playing Senzel for sure in cash, and in GPPs, you're just finding ways to be different off of that. if you want to do like the cheap Colorado stack, with Connor Joe and Alan Trejo's 2.2K, like he's fine. We mentioned Aguilar. John Birdie is 2.7K here. He would be a good way to kind of soften the pricing on your Marlins stack. He's a really good value. It's kind of guys like that. Eduardo Escobar against Trevor Rogers. I think a Diamondback stack makes a lot of sense with the ownership on Rogers tonight. So I think he's good. Solak against Javier. Like I think a Ranger stack for leverage off of him is good. That's kind of second base. It's Senzel and then finding something else to be different in GPPs.
If you believe that Castillo is somehow broken, which I'm not there. You can play McMahon, or either way, like McMahon can get him, even if Castillo's fine. McMahon is certainly, he's 5K, and why would I pay 5K when I can get Senzel? Because of ownership, obviously. Besides Cincinnati, I'm just curious, who's your second favorite stack? I think it's Houston, especially that roof being open, and Fultonevich is history of being vulnerable to lefty power. And we haven't talked about Yordan yet. We haven't talked about Tucker yet. But I think both those guys kind of pop for me.
Yeah, in terms of like just raw points, before you consider salary or ownership or anything, it's definitely the Astros after the Reds.
So you're saying if you're on FanDuel and you're doing like a 4-4 and you're doing like 4 Reds and 4 Astros, that's going to be kind of like, that's not sneaky?
I would think that's not going to be sneaky at all.
Unless you do like 5 through 9 and 5 through 9 or something. Wait, that's too many. Nope, 6 through 9. Yeah, that would be 10 players. That's too many. What else, Jeffrey? At second, or you want to move on and talk about the Hawk Corner third base?
Let's move on.
Yeah, well, Moustakas plays third also.
Moustakas does play third, and you are playing him in cash games because, again, he's the best third baseman on the slate, and he is just silly cheap. Like, how is a hitter this good in Coors Field under 5K? It's just so bad. Like, why? So yeah, play Moustakas for sure, and then find a way to be different off of him in GPPs. And it's probably going to be something, with your stacks. I guess you could one-off Jose Ramirez against, semi-chalky Gilbert. I think that's fine. You can do Bregman in your Houston stacks. You can do Escobar again in your Diamondback stacks. Brian Anderson or Birdie in your Marlins stacks, stuff like that.
Yeah, Eugenio Suarez is also third base eligible. He's also shortstop eligible. We'll talk about it in a second. It's another red at shortstop. That's what we're leading with, right? Eugenio Suarez.
Yep. Play Suarez in cash games, guys, and then find a way to be different in GPPs.
Can you fire this off? Can you give me what 5 reds would you prioritize? I mean, obviously, ideally, 5 reds you'd prioritize in cash on DK, not to just flat out build the lineup for him, but you know what I'm saying? Like, who are the ones that you think make the most sense? I think it's pretty clear, but just to spell it out.
Yeah, I mean, when you run optimal lineups through the bat, there's 5 of them that are just in like every lineup for the first however many. It's Moustakas, it's Suarez, it's Senzel, it's Castellanos, and Winker.
1 through 5.
Yeah.
That basically, and again, and the rest of the lineup is still fine. It's not like they're still fine.
Yeah, it's just that you can only play 5 of them. So,
but they're not really costing you anything else. If not Suarez at shortstop, who else are you looking at?
Correa in your Astro stacks, Miguel Rojas leading off in your Marlins stacks. You can do Nick Ahmed, I guess, in your Arizona stacks. Trejo again for Colorado. Those are the kind of guys that I think you're looking at. Elvis Andrus is always way too cheap, especially being in Fenway. So you can just kind of one off him or play him in an Oakland stack. I think Oakland stacks are good too. So, Andrus is a very good value tonight.
What position is Andy Young? Oh, he's third base in outfield.
Yeah, he's a good play.
He's got some power. Yeah, I was looking at his numbers before the show, and he had was like 20 homers or something like that in a shortened minor league season. He's got 4 or 5 homers so far in the majors this year in a small sample. Again, you don't really need salary savers, but he's there as another salary saver just for fun. Let's knock out the outfield again. If you're in chat, do subscribe, turn on notifications. We do appreciate that. It keeps the old proverbial lights on. I hate groveling, but that's what we're doing. Grovel. We're asking for the like button. And yeah, fire off some questions regarding the slate. And hey, we have plenty of time to talk 90s comedies if that just happens to turn out that way. Tell us your favorite or your least favorite 90s comedy, or maybe the most overrated comedy. How about that? Because that'll get Cardi going for sure, because I'm sure you have some takes your way. I know you hate Anchorman, you hate Dumb and Dumber. What's like the best comedy nobody likes that you like?
I'll
give you a second to think about it.
Are we strictly 90s here? Because
You can go off the board.
all right, yeah, 90s. I don't know if they had a whole lot. Can't hardly wait. Underrated 90s comedy.
Okay, I'm not going to dispute that. It's a good eclectic cast too. Like
Yeah, it's
every
really
that's the person from that. That's the person from this. It's a good little cast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seth Green, Jennifer Love Hewitt, the
Jason
girl from.
Segel makes an appearance. Yeah, there's a lot of.
I don't remember Jason Segel being in it. I haven't seen it in a long time. Is it like a little cameo or just a one-off?
Yeah, he
I don't
probably
know.
has like 3 or 4 lines. He's not in it a lot, but.
The girl from 6 Feet Under, Lauren Ambrose.
Mhm.
All right,
Melissa
give me
Joan
some
Hart, yeah.
give me some outfielders today.
Yeah, so we already mentioned Castellanos and Winker. You're playing them in cash. They're both really good. Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker for the Astros are both going to be really good plays as well. I think some of the Marlins outfielders are going to be good, Duvall and Corey Dickerson. I don't think you have to go super cheap tonight, but you can play Daza for the Rockies. You can play Kelenic, 2K against PLESAC. I don't think he's necessary. I don't think PLESAC is the best matchup for him, but you can certainly think about playing him. Hunter Renfroe against a lefty in Boston. You can definitely take a look at him as a possible home run hitter kind of guy. Tim Locastro as like a cheap guy in your Arizona stacks. Yeah.
It didn't work out yesterday, but I think it's worth saying again, like the Yankees are going to be ignored. They're going to be ignored on a 6-game slate, and people aren't going to play Stanton. They're not going to play Judge. You might on a 6-game slate, you're going to get those guys probably at single ownership, maybe like 8, 9, 10, 11%. That's sort of the way I see it right now. They did Torres. Apparently, I saw a COVID issue with him. If you're looking at the Yankee lineup, that's the reason why he's not playing baseball today. It's DJ LeMahieu, Stanton, Judge, Urshela cleanup, Sanchez batting 5, Mike Ford, Frazier, Andujar, and Gardner. I believe you're still waiting on just 2 more lineups, Cleveland and Seattle. I'm giving it the old refresh. We're expecting Kelenic, 2K on DK to crack that lineup. We don't necessarily need that, but I'm okay with it. If that's, I think he's, I'm buying into the hype. I think he's got the ceiling to be a top 10, top 15 player in the league one day, correct?
One day, yes. I think it's aggressive to put him anywhere near that now, the way some people will probably want to, but that upside is there for sure.
They want to make Kelenic happen, man. Yeah, it's not going to happen today. Well, in DFS, all we care about is today and today only. If he bangs out a homer, that's it. That's all that matters. But scoreboard, I suppose. Give me some stacks you like. Do you like the Reds?
Yeah, the Reds are okay. They're not bad. I think you can consider playing them if they're not too popular. I don't know if a lot of people are going to be on the Reds, but the Reds
We'll
are
keep
the
it
Reds
between
are
us and chat.
the Reds are the best by a lot. They're going to be super popular. And GPPs, if they're all going to be like 40% owned, you probably are under on the Reds because that's silly. And you're going to be playing other stuff. You're going to be playing Astros, Oakland, Marlins, Diamondbacks. I really don't mind Diamondbacks or even Rangers. If Rogers and Javier are going to be 2 of the highest owned pitchers on the slate, like stacking against either one is totally fine. Neither one is great. Neither one is projecting super well today. The prices on these hitters against them are really good. The weather is great in both of those games. So I think those kind of leverage stacks make a lot of sense. And then if you're doing that, you probably can play some Reds with them. What
about the Joey Gallo one-off? He's 2.9 on FanDuel, which just seems cheap for Joey Gallo. I know he hasn't really had the year we expect of him necessarily with the power still. I still believe the power is real. He's 4K on DK, which again, I don't know why we're talking price because it doesn't really matter. But Gallo, he seems like an interesting way to be different on a slate where 6-gamer, Javi, Christian Javier is fine, but he's not like this pitcher I'm completely afraid of. He's just one of the best pitchers on the slate because none of the pitchers are great necessarily. So why not consider that for tournaments? You got anything else before we bring Devin in? Devin's going to be firing off the questions from chat. Again, chat, feel free to fire off some questions. And we're here for the next 15 minutes for you guys.
Sounds good to me.
Devin, what do you got for us?
I have a lot of movie suggestions.
Oh, here we go. And no baseball questions.
We got a good bit sprinkled in there. First off, I want to congratulate you, Dean, for making it all the way to the Q&A segment without your computer freezing on us. It's a real
I had a
achievement.
stern phone call with and I still can't make any promises for the last 15 minutes, but yeah, hopefully we're good to go.
We just had to make it past 5:35 Eastern. Michael in chat gave that as the over/under for how long it would take for you to get knocked out. So you made it. You made it, Dean.
It was a good line, to be fair. Good line.
Yeah,
Michael.
it was a sharp line for sure.
I would have bet the under.
Yeah, we got plenty of questions. So, Cardi, you want to do cash, Dean GPP, or do you guys want to do split by site?
I like bouncing back and forth.
Let's do that. Let's do that. All right, Dean. Brian wants to know, DK tournament, 6-game slate, hard to be different. What team stack do you like as a low or owned option? I saved this question pre-show before we even started. After watching the show, just don't play Cincinnati. That's how to get different.
Yeah, and like, can't you play? So why can't you play 3 guys in the Reds? Like, it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Dean, that's a rule. You can't.
So that's sort of like my general thought process. And again, I'm not somebody that rolls out 150. So, and I know there's people that are going to say, screw it. I'm going to have 150 lineups of 5 Reds or 4 Reds, depending on where you're playing. And my way of being different is just like, well, I will play 3 and I'm going to hand build 6 lineups. Because is every Red going to get there today? Probably not. Am I going to pick the right 3? Probably not, but maybe.
And it'll probably be the one that you didn't pick, the one that you left off. Cardi, Stan wants to know, DK tournament, any interest in Cleveland bats against Chalky Gilbert?
You can. I would rather play Arizona or Texas against the chalkier Rogers and Javier, though.
Let me just chime in. I just want to pull up the ownership on Gilbert because I don't think he's going to be as heavily owned as that question is presented. Maybe I'm wrong here. We have Gilbert projected for 21% on DK, which is actually the 4th highest owned pitcher behind Javier, PLESAC, and Rogers. And I bet he's not even near that on FanDuel.
Unowned on FanDuel.
Yeah, because the FanDuel, who cares? The FanDuel pricing is just broken, and you can play any of these guys and still get it whatever you want. And he's
I'll be
almost
curious
definitely
where he actually comes in. That seems a little low to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I don't have a good read on it.
You know, actually, while we're on this actually leads a little bit into Frederick's question next. It's a 2-part question, and I'll start with the second part. Wanted to know sort of what sort of information RG takes in throughout the day to help kind of cater the ownership projections. I can't really speak to that too much. Jamino is the wizard behind all that. Dean, I don't know if you have any sort of an answer to kind of expound on that.
Yeah, I mean, I would throw that question to Cardi because I would say whatever like the bat is spitting out, like that, you know, I'm sure RG is putting together some kind of formula along those lines, like what quote unquote optimal lineups may or may not be. I would imagine team totals are factored in as well.
Vegas
probably
lines,
weather as well, but team totals and what the bat is spitting out are, you know, optimizers of that sort. Cardi, what do you? Because I can't speak to it again. Yeah. Jamino and his team, the gerbil is working on the wheel, and you know whatever it spits out, it spits out. But yeah, it tends to be pretty good for what it's worth.
Yeah, I don't have a great answer. I'm not involved with the ownership, so I'm not sure exactly what's going into it.
Tweet Chris Jamino, see if he can answer something for you. His other question was, all the other touts are off to Javier today. He called them to make sure. How much will that adjust projected ownership on him and Texas bats, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, if
it's hard to really bait
off him, then I guess the ownership projection is gonna be too high. But you know, we'll have to see.
It's hard to base what ifs on other people's opinions, right?
Yeah.
I have the expert rankings up right now on DraftKings specific, and we ranked them all day today. So like we have some of the early pitchers. Flaherty was 1, Burns was 2. I don't know how they did. I didn't play the early slate, unfortunately. We got as far as our consensus stuff, the pitchers that are actually pitching tonight. We have PLESAC, Tyon, Javier, Rogers. Yeah. So, and Dave Potts happens to have Christian Javier is his second best pitcher tonight. So I don't really know. I mean, look, I haven't taken a collection. I have not taken a survey, but I kind of reject that premise, Cardi. I don't know who's saying Javier is not playable. I think he's fine.
I mean, I'm kind of saying it, but I felt like I was kind of on my own island doing that. So
Cardi loves
you think
being
he's
on
like
Cardi's
everybody
island.
else, and yeah, you think he's basically the same as the other guys. He's just a little more expensive, so why spend the money?
Yep, he's the same as the other guys, and he's just more expensive.
All right, Derek, we'll stick with you. Eric wants to know, any trust in Tyon tonight versus Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I like Tyon for GPPs.
All right, Dean. Stan wants to know thoughts on a Colorado vomit stack.
It is kind of wild, isn't it? You never that seems like an oxymoron, like the Rockies, but like that Connor Joe makes you want to vomit for sure. The absence of Story, the absence, just Arenado obviously hasn't been there all season long. I'm not going to go full Colorado. I might get a couple pieces just because, but I'm more likely to play Castillo than pick on him for better or worse.
All right, next one comes from Michael, and it's a suggestion. There's something about Mary.
That's one of the better 90s comedies, I'd say, probably. I haven't seen it in a while, but I'd say that's on the list.
Next one comes from Derek R., which is Derek C's burner account. It says, Dumb and Dumber was hilarious when I was young, but it didn't hold up.
That sounds about right, honestly. As a kid, I can see people being like, oh, this is really funny. And then as an adult, you watch it and you're like, this is stupid.
Well, comedies, for whatever reason, tend to have the hardest time aging. Like, just, I don't know why. Like, dramas, it all sort of depends. Would you guys not agree as far as genres, general rules?
Yeah.
Comedies tend to age the worst.
Makes sense.
No?
Yeah.
People's tastes change.
Yeah.
Culture changes. What's funny at one point, you don't get the references or whatever.
People were making dead babies jokes, right?
There's something about Mary with that. I mean, that would not fly in the 2020 culture necessarily. I don't think. Well, maybe. I mean, it would. I don't know if it would get made the same exact way. I would say. There you go.
Couple of cuts in the editing room, I think.
Yeah.
I don't remember it well enough, I guess.
Eric C wants to know, Dean, Barnhart or Castro?
I mean, it's an ownership question, right? So there actually is an opportunity cost to rostering Barnhart because you can only roster so many Reds, right?
Yep.
I wonder if people are going to not play Barnhart because they're maxing out on their Reds, or if you're going to play 3 Reds.
Is there a punt catcher option that that people could gravitate towards?
I mean, it's not Kevon. Kevon Smith's 2K. Like, he's not good, but he's 2K. But I don't know how much you need that salary savings, obviously. Castro, there's nothing worse than hitting at home in the 9 spot. Like, you might get 3 at bats, and other guys are going to get 5. There's a chance that catchers in the road. Obviously, Carson Kelly's at home. He might get 4 or 5 at bats if things go really well for him. But I have a hard time doing that, Cardi. Especially Castro's not good. Of course, he's a lefty against Fulte, and he hits a homer in the 2nd or 3rd inning. Who cares if he only gets 3 at bats? But my at bats are precious, and I don't like giving them up. But he is cheap, I guess.
Yeah, catcher's just so gross. I think Castillo's one of the better plays, kind of just by default.
All right, next one comes from Frederick and Doug. Both suggested Big Lebowski, and I love that one.
Oh yeah,
that one's up there.
Cardi.
I need to watch it again. I remember not liking it.
Oh no. Next one.
I'm gonna date myself, by the way. I saw Big Lebowski in the theaters.
Wow.
And nobody saw that movie in the theaters. It was like a box office bust. It was one of those post-type sleepers.
Well,
yeah.
You do still have
like
a house.
Shawshank.
You still have a house phone, so we all know where you stand, Dean.
I still remember who I saw it with. Go ahead.
Close runner-up was my cousin Vinny, by the way.
That's the 90s winner, I think.
2 Utes.
Jason coming in with Nutty Professor as well, which gotta love that one.
More of a clumps guy.
Stan coming in. Any Miami bats?
Yes.
Yes.
I like Miami bats quite a bit tonight.
Also,
Aguilar's the best one.
In a raw sense, yeah, he's a little expensive, but he's the best overall, I would say.
Also,
Duvall's
Naked
got
Gun.
Good,
batter
could
profile.
be Duvall, could be one of those two.
Naked Gun was also thrown in there as a suggestion.
I love the Naked Gun. I can quote that entire movie basically, but go ahead.
Friday as well. That's another funny one. Eric J would like to know, DK tournaments, Cardi, what's the plan for SP? Showed up late. Do you want to give us the top 2 or 3 options?
Yeah, so PLESAC and Gilbert are kind of like the optimal guys, but I think Luis Castillo is a fantastic GPP play. I think you can mix in Tyon and maybe Rich Hill.
Perfect. Dean, Jason. Well, I guess this one's for Cardi too. So Dean, we'll give you the Ryan wants to know, FanDuel, same price, Casty or Winker?
Oof. I don't know. Castellanos is probably the better play.
Yeah, I could imagine that. Jason wants to know, Cardi, down to my last FanDuel dollar. Who's my SP tonight?
PLESAC, I think. Yeah, PLESAC's your guy.
WRB says Beavis and Butthead Do America, as well as South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut.
Yeah.
That person has a wheelhouse.
I was going to say, I'm
appreciate
sensing
those
a pattern here. Yeah.
What about World America Police? Are they a fan of that movie too?
Team America World. I don't think that's 90s. I think that's like early 2000s.
It's
but,
tough. Yeah.
Beavis and Butthead's
America.
Not
You said it in
YouTube friendly,
your
Dean.
ahead.
Frederick brings in Can't Hardly Wait. Yes, agree on that. Dean, I guess this one's for Cardi as well. So Dean, Doug, FanDuel single entry, top 4 Cincinnati plays. So who are you fading?
Yeah. So like that's the question is like ownership wise, like Senzel, Winker, Castellanos, Moustakas, Suarez. Those are the 5 best. Who do we kick out of that grouping? I think it's Senzel because he's gonna be the most popular. He's got multi-position eligibility. He's leading off.
But he's second base, and second base sucks.
Who could we play at second if we don't play Senzel? So that's an important question. What are our alternatives? Chavis, Altuve, if you want to have a little mini Houston stack, sure, why not? Escobar, Birdie's got some speed for Miami, but
Play Birdie, I guess. Yeah. I think the bat would be kicking out Winker for what it's worth.
Here's what you do. Whoever you leave off, go on the FanDuel, DK Sportsbook, BetMGM, wherever you go, bet on the home run for the one you leave off because that's going to happen.
That's the move, man.
There you go. Cover your bases. Thoughts on Gilbert tonight? I think we touched on that plenty.
Yeah, good play, way too cheap. Good cash play.
Should make it clear, DK specific, FanDuel, we're not playing him on FanDuel, right, Cardi? I'm not playing him on FanDuel.
I don't know what his price is on FanDuel, but it's definitely a DK play. No, FanDuel, he's super cheap too. He projects as the best point per dollar guy over there. So yeah, I'm fine playing him there too. In GPP, obviously.
Heavyweights was thrown out as another movie.
Ben Stiller.
So that's top notch. It's so good. D,
you watch it today, you're gonna be like, you know what? I was a dumb kid.
yeah,
That's a terrible movie.
What was I watching? Cardi, Ryan wants to know, is Tapia any good at baseball? Slap hitter with speed. And also, is Blackman any good anymore?
Tapia is not that good at baseball. He's probably a below average hitter. Like the slap hitter speed guys are generally not actually good at baseball. They're just like fun fantasy guys or whatever. Blackman, he's borderline good. He's not great.
You see Billy Hamilton last night? Speaking of slap hitters,
Still in the league.
he's still doing things, man. On occasion.
Let's see. Frederick wants to know, is it just me or is Oakland and Boston sneaky?
I like Oakland a lot, and Boston's fine too.
Richards has been better though. And he's got a pretty good arsenal. Are you buying into it, Cardi, or you're just talking like an ownership perspective, like Oakland big ballpark bump, 9th inning guaranteed? Is that the thought process there?
That's kind of it. Ownership, the prices are low. It's a good park upgrade,
Michael brought in another suggestion, Road Trip. Also says, please watch Big Lebowski again. It holds up.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good.
I'll have to check it out again because I remember it being not good at all.
Oh, Cardi.
Just twisted the knife, man.
Let's see where it's playing, where it's available. This is important things.
Jerry also in chat. I don't know what's worse, not liking the Big Lebowski or seeing it in theaters.
Why is that bad? I was on the cusp, man. I spotted talent.
Jason says you were one of the 10% who saw it in theaters.
Nobody saw that movie in theaters. There's like 12 people, maybe if that.
You could say you discovered it, Dean.
Yes, I did. I was the Christopher Columbus of Big Lebowski.
Frederick says
Very proud of myself.
Election is also vastly underrated.
I didn't love
Never seen Election.
I'm pretty sure I saw that one. I'm pretty sure I thought it was pretty good as well. It's kind of a
Matthew Broderick or Reese Witherspoon.
Yes, and I was going to say, you mentioned Matthew Broderick. It was sort of in the same vein of humor as Ferris Bueller, if I remember correctly.
You know Ferris Bueller?
What?
That was from the 80s,
People used to say I looked like him in high school. I also got like a bunch of other people. I was just a generic white guy with brown hair, so.
Can we get like your 80s, like a profile shot or a yearbook photo on Twitter?
Goodness. I don't know. We'll have to find that. Ryan wants to know, DK Cash, Cardi, Kevon Smith, and Casti, or Barnhart Tapia.
You got to get Casti, so if you have to do Kevon Smith, I guess that's fine.
And this is going to be a daily thing from now on. Federico wants to know, what's your favorite lefty masher tonight? I will give them credit. I'm pretty sure it's never the same one person asking the question. So
it's hard to have a favorite of something that doesn't exist. It's very difficult.
Well, because there's so few lefties playing tonight. Well, actually, we haven't talked about, I know Lefty Master, whatever, but we know JD Martinez historically absolutely smashed. And then, JD stands for Just Dingers. And if it's nobody playing JD Martinez, because he's kind of sort of somewhat interesting, right?
Yeah, he's interesting enough.
All right, rousing endorsement.
All right, well, we're up to the end of the show here, but we'll end with Adrian wants to know FanDuel Cash, Winker and Chavis, or Bregman and Senzel.
I mean, you've got to find a way to have Senzel on your team. And, Senzel's got to be in your FanDuel Cash team. He's 3K, and he's leading off in cores. That's the first person you put in. So it's got to be the Senzel side. Cardi?
I agree.
All right. Don't forget, we got free crunch time tomorrow. We'll be doing trivia with the Big Brain Trivia. Be sure to join in after Slate Locks. We'll hang out. Maybe win yourself some free RG Premium.
One of these times, Devin, I'm going to crash the Big Brain, just for fun.
One of these times.
I'm inviting myself. It's going to be awkward. You're like, oh, God, I guess we have to invite him. Well, you guys play at 7:30, right? You play post-lock and just sort of hang out?
Is that past your bedtime, Dean?
Dude, what are you talking about? I stay up later than you, man.
This is true, actually. I think I could probably easily say you do.
Yeah, I'm up to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning on the rig. But that is the end of the show. That was Derek Carty from The Bat. You know him, you love him. That was D-Train, Devin, our fabulous multitasking producer. This was baseball. You guys with the chat, thanks for watching. Thanks for asking questions. Do like and subscribe on your way out. It is much appreciated. If y'all are premium members, you can get yourself premium for 10% off, $10 off your first month. Not just one sport, but all the sports, whichever route you decide to go. The all sports encompassing does exclude NASCAR for what it's worth. If you guys are premium members, stay tuned. You got Tuttle, you got Andy talking baseball and basketball, and Roth talking weather if any late breaking weather goes down. That said, we got to go. Thanks for watching. We're out of here. Holler!